What's up, good people? Thank you for joining me here on the lab on Good Cube Kitchen. My name is Yassine Butler, and I want to thank everyone who has supported and voted over the last week and a half. At this point, I am holding steady at fourth place in my group, and I know with your support, we can go even higher than that. I want to give a special shout out to all of those people who voted with their dollars. My Aunt Tammy, my mom, Michael Iavino, my high school history teacher, and my cousin Kayla and Nala. I so love all of you for loving me and supporting with your dollars. Also, those of you who just did the free vote every day, every vote counts. So please remember to go to favechef.com/2021 /Yassine dash Butler so that you can vote every day. Thank you so much, and let's get into this episode. You may have noticed last week that I had this at the edge of my screen. My little brother is getting married, and that's ridiculous in and of itself, but on top of that, he's asked me to officiate the ceremony. With that being said, I've put on more than a pandemic 15. Something about making ice cream every week is probably not a good way to lose weight. But anyway, we're here now. So for the next 6 or so weeks, we're going to be focusing on making delicious and healthy food so that I can work on getting this all together so that I can look good in photos in 20 years. So let's get started. What I want to make this week is one of a family favorite. It is Ratatouille. My mother makes Ratatouille all the time, and we're going to actually make a recipe kind of similar to the one in the movie. When my mother makes it, she makes a very much a rustic home style version, but I want to work on my plating skills. There we go. So you want it thin, but you also want it to hold together. Next vegetable we're going to prep is our zucchini. I'm going to do something that's really fancy kitchenish. And I don't particularly like doing it, but I'm going to do it today. I'm just going to use the thinner necks of these squashes because I have all of these small zucchini, and so I want them to be kind of uniform. Last, gonna slice these small bell peppers. They're so sweet and delicious. All right, so peeling pearl onions. You take them, you drop them in some boiling water. For 1 minute. Since a person that doesn't generally have ice in the house, I went and I froze this so that I can do this part. Now that we've gotten all our vegetables prepped, let's get started on putting this all together. To start, we need to lay down a layer of flavor. I'm going to use the tomato sauce, olive oil, and some Italian season to give us a coating for this pan that will caramelize and deepen the flavors at the bottom of your bite. Once you have that layer of flavor down, then it's time to layer everything around. Now, the first two, I was being stupid. It was 4 in the morning. I tried to make them individually, season them individually. It was a bad idea. What you're gonna do is mix up your dry seasonings, your onion powder, your Italian seasoning, and then you're gonna lay down a layer of eggplant. Every layer of eggplant needs to be salted. Let me say that one more time. Every layer of eggplant needs to be salted. Once you salt the layer of eggplant, then you can put the rest of your vegetables on. So salt it, then I'm gonna go with my yellow squash because that's what I wanna do. You can do anything you want. You could put your zucchini, you could put your bell peppers, you could put tomato, whatever you want on this layer. Make sure that you season that layer as well. Hit it with a little bit of salt, hit it with your dry seasoning mix, and then make sure you hit it with your fresh garlic. I forgot to include that, but yeah, we crushed up about a head of garlic for this recipe. Then I'm going to include some sun-dried tomatoes. I'm not a really big tomato fan. Fresh tomatoes and canned tomatoes, they all kind of lack a level of flavor that's just not there for me. So I need intense, deep tomato flavor if I'm gonna eat it, hence the sun-dried tomatoes. Then, like a lasagna, I'm gonna put a layer of eggplant down and then add the next layer of vegetables. Now that I've got my zucchini layered down, I am going to add some more flavor on top of that. Hit it with some salt, hit it with my dry seasoning mix, but also I'm gonna hit it with my bell peppers. These bell peppers are gonna add a sweetness to them, and you're gonna add that fresh garlic. When all of this roasts together, you're gonna have some really great, intense, but delicate flavors. This layer, I'm going to add some more squash and some basil. I really love basil in Italian food. Basil and garlic are kind of the foundational flavors for Italian food. Hitting it with the more bell peppers and then covering the final layer with your eggplant. Again, seasoning your eggplant with some salt, and we're gonna top it with the sun-dried tomatoes. This is going to protect it from drying out. And then I'm gonna secure them all with 3 to 4 toothpicks so that they don't shift around while they're cooking. Then I'm gonna pop it into a 400-degree oven for about 25 minutes. Next thing I wanna make up is some mushrooms. I really like mushrooms, especially when I'm trying to go meatless, because they give you a bit of texture and a bit of bite. And so I'm gonna, a little bit of oil. Next, we're gonna go with our Italian seasoning. Italian seasoning is super simple. Oregano, rosemary, and thyme. Super simple. Hit it with some salt because you gotta salt every layer of your food. And then we're going to add over that crushed garlic. Because when you get garlic nice and roasted, it's gonna add a really cool depth of flavor to this. So about 2 teaspoons of crushed garlic, maybe 3. However you feel. There's no such thing as too much garlic in Italian food. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roast these mushrooms and the onions together. Last piece is the sauce. I'm gonna start with some olive oil, and we're going to add over the rest of our crushed garlic, about tablespoon and a half. We're going to allow that to start to shimmer and get a little bit fragrant. Then we're gonna drop over our bell peppers. We're going to allow these to cook until they start to get a little bit brown around the edges. Then we're gonna salt them, add over the rest of our seasonings, our onion powder, our Italian seasoning, and allow that to get fragrant. Once you start to smell those herbs, go ahead and dump over your tomatoes. Now, I splurged and got the San Marzano kind of tomatoes because everybody raves about them. I don't think they taste any different than some regular old Hunt's ones. So, do you, boo-boo, do you. All right, so going to add over our basil. You don't need to chop this because it's just going in the sauce, just a quick tear. That's all you need to do. Give it a good mix and allow it to start to cook. You're going to taste it and see if it needs some sugar. Usually canned tomatoes need some sugar to combat that acidity. Once you get that in, put a top on it, let it cook. After about 25 minutes, I'm going to put a top on this pan so that we can get a little bit of steam to get the vegetables that aren't completely cooked all the way through to the middle. I really like my tomato sauce cooked hard. I am not a fan of lightly cooked tomato sauce, so I've got this up high, constantly stirring so that you can get some deep caramelization on these flavors really quickly. You could do this super slow if you've got like 45 minutes, an hour to let this go. I didn't have that kind of time, so I didn't. To add a little bit of fat and flavor to this, I'm going to chop up about a pound of mozzarella cheese. Now you could use those cute little fresh mozzarella balls. I wish I could have found them. I couldn't. So I'm just going to cube up this pound of mozzarella and I'm just going to dot it. I'm not going to use the entire pound, but I cut it up for, presentation purposes. You have to keep stirring your tomato sauce. If you don't, it will burn, and that's not what you want. So after about 5 to 7 minutes, additionally with the top in the oven, you're going to go ahead and take your tomato sauce and put it around your ratatouille stacks. This is going to make sure that you get that good flavor, but it's not going to allow it to overpower it as if you had cooked it all together. Now I'm going to give it my final finishing touches. I'm going to dot it with my mozzarella chunks, and then I'm going to dot it with my mushrooms and my pearl onions. Try to give it a bit of a design so when it comes out of the oven, it looks pretty. That's the goal. You want to create kind of a festive looking thing that's going to come out the oven and be pleasing to the eye, even though you're going to plate this up. And so here you have it, my take on the Ratatouille from the movie. I am super excited to try this. I really love this recipe and just Ratatouille as a whole because it's super simple, it's not complicated, it's healthy, and it's delicious. Mm. Mm. I'm really glad that I decided to include the sun-dried tomatoes. They really amp up the depth of flavor of the tomato sauce and the entire bite experience. Each of the vegetables is really nicely cooked, not overcooked. They still have a bit of that crunch to them that you want when you have some healthy vegetables. If there's no crunch, usually means they're a little bit overcooked. You've got this sweetness to everything, and then you have all of those flavors that come through, like the basil and the rosemary and the oregano. All of that combines to make this really delightful flavor. Mm. Roasting the mushrooms separately was such a great idea because at this point, everything kind of has this tomato flavor, but the mushroom is separate. It has a little bit of the hint of the tomato because it was right on the top there, but it's mostly bringing me those flavors of the garlic and the olive oil and the Italian seasoning, all of those, and then you get this difference in texture, which is really important when you're going from meat to meatless. A lot of times what you really miss is the textural component. And roasted mushrooms is one way to get a good textural reminder of meat without having the meat in your diet. So I'm super excited for this recipe. I hope that you go home, try it, make sure that you share it with me so that I can see your attempts. This has been another episode of The Lab. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for all of your support in the Fave Chef competition. Again, all you have to do is go to favechef.com/2021/Yassim-Butler to vote. Vote as often as you can. Thank you so much again. And as always, thank the good Lord for good food and good times. All that good is good cubed. Have a good one. Peace.